for example, repeat the name of Allah over and over because it gets into a state of spiritual ecstasy and so on. So the word itself, Allah, is important, and there is some mystical qualities to it. Something I showed the last class before, which I was shown to by a high school student. In Arabic, this is the way we write Allah. It's like this, like this, like this. And sometimes you can see it like this, like the ha. Now, if you look at your hand, right? So whether you're an Arab or not an Arab, whether you're Muslim, you actually have your right hand, you got alif, lam, lam, and ha, right? I mean, there's some weird stuff on the internet that I think are fake, like someone drew Allah on a cow or something. But, I mean, this is something, it's just like right there in front of your face, which is sometimes the point, which are the things that are right in front of your face. Sometimes it's hard for people to accept for some reason. But a Muslim would say that there is a uniqueness and specialness to saying the word Allah, but just to avoid confusion, I just like to say the God, until that this name is understood in its universal aspect as opposed to some sort of ethnocentric understanding of God. And this is precisely part of the mission of Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, in Arabia. They were, again, a tribal society. You will see this next week when we look more about Prophet Muhammad. And so he wanted to liberate them from that. Even till today, in much of the world, in tribal societies, I mean, it's very difficult to escape that sort of system. And so by saying that, well, he doesn't have a different God from you, and the same God that created him is the same one who created you, then you start to see how what it's setting up is what the Prophet Muhammad said, that there is no favor for an Arab over a non-Arab, nor for a non-Arab over an Arab, nor for a white over a black, or black over white, except by their mindfulness of God and how they follow that with their conduct, right? So this, again, this statement, or the Shahada, it's for lack of a better word, I mean, it's pregnant with so many of the concepts and ideas, which is really at the core of Islam. Okay, so this idea here, a God that is too small, I just like this term. It was used by someone named John Esposito. Some of you may have read him. Just a note on this. A lot of people now, their information is on the internet. And so you will find things on the internet attacking Islam, things on the internet supporting Islam. But I think for a person starting out to study, it's good to study. I mean, academics aren't always completely unbiased, but it's good to study academics. One of the ones, and their kind of reading of particular faith. One of the ones that I like is Esposito. He's been writing about Islam for decades now, and about Muslims. Sometimes Muslims think he is Muslim, but actually he's a Catholic. He has, I think, a center. He's at one of the universities here, center for. Does anybody know what Esposito Center is called? Interfaith Center for something. But anyway, this is a good person to look up, especially if you're not interested in just reading things on the internet. If you want to read books, Esposito is a good author to read on Islam. So what he said is that sometimes people, he was actually giving this speech to Muslims, and he's talking about how sometimes Muslims disagree with each other and argue with each other. And what he says is like, don't make God too small. Don't limit God to who you think he ought to be, or what, because you can't do that, right? We can only say about him what he says about himself, which is that he is one, he is unique, that he is the sovereign, all those kind of things, which we'll talk about when we talk about the belief system in Islam. All right. So it looks like we can break, inshallah. Let me just finish up these last 2 points, then we'll just break like last time, and I'll be back. We'll resume at about 8 o'clock. Actually, these two concepts are a little bit too important to kind of say really quick. So anyway, when we come back, we'll pick up where we left off. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you after the break, inshallah. Right. Well, good evening once again. Assalamu alaikum. Begin with the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Praise for Him, peace and blessings be upon His prophets and messengers. So, we've been talking about the testimony of faith, and we've been just looking at each of these words or phrases to sort of lead us through our understanding. We started with I testify, showing that it's a personal choice that comes through the intellect and also an inner experience as well. And then we said that there is no God, which is the negation of divinity or any sort of... Because when we use the word God, it would be like the one who is worshipped, but also the one who is adored, the one who is... you seek their acceptance and you fear their rejection. So this again has some deeper levels of understanding besides just not worshiping idols of wood and stone. And this is the constant process of the Muslim to overcome their own ego and say that my ego is not God, to overcome their own whim, their own desire, to overcome fear of, let's say, a tyrant, or love of a person who can give you something, right, in an absolute way. So this is saying that there is no God except the God. So we were at the point where we were looking at what do we mean when we say Allah. And this is something that you will find throughout the Quran, that Allah is presents Himself at times as being very close to us, compassionate, merciful, and then at times as very, very majestic and transcendent and great. And so, to give you an example, there's a verse of the Quran in the 2nd chapter. I don't have the exact verse, the exact number of the verse memorized, but the verse itself, it says, when your servants ask you about me, I am near. So a person might have expected to say something like, when your servants ask you about me, tell them that I am near. So he takes out, tell them that I am near. He just says, I am near. I respond to the supplication of the one who calls upon me when he calls upon me. And at the same time, you will see other verses where it said, it is we who have created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, right? So both of those attitudes and inner understanding of God are important for the Muslim. This is why, for example, when you see us talk about the prayer, the salah, there's a formal way to do it with showing His greatness and so on. But at the same time, you can just talk to Allah in whatever language you want. Because, like Abraham, we use his example, he was called the best friend of Allah. So I just wanted to get that across, that you will find both aspects in the Quran there. So any questions about this slide or even anything that came before that so far? Yes? No questions? Okay. Is that because y'all don't have questions or because... Oh, right. There you go. Yeah. I should give prizes to people who ask questions. Yes. Okay. So the greeting is... so the word, if you just say salam, that's the easiest thing to remember. Salam just means peace. But the whole greeting is as follows. Remember we talked about the word el. El means the. So it's actually, we say, and I'm skipping the L, but just because when you put it together. So as-salam, it actually means the peace. It's almost, because this is actually one of the names of Allah also. It's as-salam. As-salamu alaykum. Actually, you'd be surprised about how many people know this greeting now, who even aren't Muslim. I was at the coffee shop over here, just up the road from us, and